The X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, the X Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And good evening, one and all, and welcome to the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell, and for the next 4 hours, I am your host. I am your guide as together we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And the X Zone comes to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern, right here on the X Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, and on Simul TV. If you'd like to send me an email with your comments, your suggestions, or your hate mail, that's all the same to me. For the past 30 years, it's been the same email address, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. To find out about the programming we have available for you, 724-365 on the X Zone Broadcast Network, visit www.xzbn.net. And for all the programming information about the X Zone TV channel on Simul TV, visit simultv.com, and in the search engine, just type in X Zone. My guest this hour is John MILOR, and John is the author of 10 published books on varying genres, a talk show guest for numerous programs. John is mostly known for his pioneer research in an emerging field he has defined as Christian ufology. He has been contributing to this field for over 25 years now. John's interest in understanding the paranormal began at the early age of 5 years old after hearing his grandmother's tale of seeing a UFO about 100 years ago. Now, what makes his great-grandmother's tale unique is that she was an exceptionally devout Christian, the wife of a Pentecostal minister from the Bible Belt. Now, this story and others, several otherworldly encounters of his own have fueled John's quest to understand the unseen realms. Then when John reached the age of 21, it just like his great-grandmother, he was visited by none other than Jesus Christ in a vision. Since then, he has become a devout Christian. Joining me now to talk more about Christian ufology is my guest this hour, X Zone Nation, John MILOR. And John, welcome back to the X Zone.
Thank you for having me back on.
It's a great pleasure talking to you, John. Tell us a little bit more about your visitation or your vision of Jesus.
Oh, wow. So that didn't come until after I got out of the Army.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a dream when I was 12 years old that I went to heaven, but in that dream I didn't see God or Jesus, unless, of course, you count it in the form of an eagle. I did see an eagle in a tree, which was just the most amazing experience. And I've heard that Jesus will take that form sometimes, representing the office of prophet. But the dream that I had when I was 21 was pretty much during the darkest time of my life. I was living a pretty worldly life back then, and during that time when I was probably the farthest away from God, I had a dream that he came to me. I write about it in one of my books, The Eagle Star Prophecy. And when I woke up from the dream, I was recalling elements of the dream, that there was someone that was with me, showing me these different things. But whoever this was, he was invisible. And at one point, I remember even looking at the seat that he was sitting in, but I could see the indentation of the seat. But whoever it was, he made himself not visible to me. And I was sitting there in my bed in my room just recalling the dream until I got to that point. And everything was just so crisp and vivid. And I was like, oh, yeah, I remember that. Who was that in that chair anyway? And I actually said it, When I verbalized the question, I literally heard the name Jesus answered in my ear audibly, coming from the middle of my room. And it floored me. I was just freaked out and blown away. And when he spoke, there's something that happens when God speaks that it's true. You can't refute it. Every fiber of your being knows that it's the truth. He speaks. When he speaks, his word is truth, and it's irrefutable. You can't argue with God. So when I heard him speak his name in my ear, which I wasn't expecting, it changed me in an instant. And I guess it was like, Ebenezer Scrooge, how he has his dream. He's bah humbug when he goes to sleep,
right.
And he's Mr. Joyful Christmas the next day.
Yep.
So that night when I went to bed, I was just, pretty much, it was another grim day like I'd been experiencing, depressed and having all kinds of problems. And when I woke up the next day, I felt like all this weight had lifted off of my shoulders when I heard him speak that name. And in an instant, it was like he revealed to me, you don't have to be carrying all of this. In fact, I'm just going to take it all away from you. And all the addiction, everything that I was dealing with, just gone. And I was like a dithering madman for a little while there. I didn't know what to do with myself. But I did a 180 in my life at that point. But there were things in my life, there were elements of my personality that still remained the same. One thing I always have been was a seeker, a questioning person, even at a young age. So I'd always had that intense sense of understanding that this world that we're in is not all that's there, that we're surrounded by beings all the time. So it's basically just a spiritual awareness, and I was always studying things like UFOs and ghosts and paranormal. But now I was like, suddenly light switched on. I'm a Christian now, but I still know all these things. And so I started reading the Bible, and instantly I'm seeing kind of like all the stuff that I had been reading about from every other source of literature was here in the Bible. And so that's how I started this phase of reconciling, like, how can I believe these two different things that are commonly thought of as opposing, but reconcile this? And all of my books are kind of like in that vein of sort of reconciling faith with all of these other things.
I understand what you're talking about, and I agree with you 100%, because when you really look at the Bible is a history book. It's a history book, prehistory. And it gives us all the answers, and all we need to do is open up to the possibilities. Ezekiel's wheel, the thunderous cloud on Mount Sinai that handed Moses the Ten Commandments. And the Bible is filled with these examples that were put in a metaphor that the people who wrote these could understand. And I think that as we progress in time, and as science and as researchers like yourself and thinkers like yourself bring forward the information, people listen and they say, you know what? That makes sense. And I believe that God talks to everybody. It's just a very few that actually listen.
Yeah. As a familiar with computer programs and operating systems, to me it only makes sense that God would create his life forms with backdoor access.
Exactly.
And he communicates with everyone, even the most ungodly people. There is a level of backdoor access that he has where he can talk with them. And of course, a lot of these people are going to be completely rejecting him, rejecting what he stands for. rebelling, and we're an open book to God.
Yep.
So, we can kid ourselves and lie, or we can convince ourselves that God doesn't exist. He's fully capable of revealing himself at any time he wants, but he's more interested in what's in our heart. What kind of things do we want to be true? What do we hope for?
That's right.
And the way to determine that is to hide and access us via back door and have conversations with us in our sleep and in our subconscious, and continue to just be a part of our lives and try to guide us to him. And hopefully we can eventually snap out of it.
John, you and I have to take our first break. Please stand by. And Exonation, here's a couple of websites to find out more about our guest this hour, John MILOR. Let me see. The first one is thestrongdelusion.net, and his Facebook page is facebook.com/John MILOR, and that's JOHNMILOR. And for all John's books, all you need to do is go to Amazon.com. John and I will return on the other side of this commercial break as the X Zone continues with yours truly, Rob McConnell, right here from our broadcast center and studios in Niagara, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away. Welcome back, everyone. John MILOR is our special guest. We're talking to John about a field that he defined as Christian ufology. Now, you've had other paranormal experiences. You've had experiences that most people would find hard to understand or even accept. Can you share some of these experiences with our audience, John?
Well, okay. I'm going to drop back to my early childhood.
Okay.
I recall actually seeing demons in my room when I was about 5 years old. It was near Halloween. It might have even been Halloween night. But I do remember waking up in the middle of the night, and there were these little beings that were like about 2 feet long, 2 to 3 feet long, and the room was flooded with them. They were like a glowy greenish color, and they looked like, ironically, your stereotypical ghost, like this blob of light, like a person with a sheet over their head. They were semi-transparent. They were luminescent, like glowy green.
Yeah.
And they had black eyes and a black mouth, and they emanated pure fear. And they struck terror in me. I was paralyzed in my bed. They wouldn't allow me to move. Every time I tried to move, they would rush up into my face. And there was probably a good 30 or 40 of them in the room at least. And they were flying all over the place. I tried to call out to my brother to wake him up. And they made him like, he wasn't waking up. And they took my voice. So I couldn't even call for help. And I stayed awake all night, so that's how I know that I wasn't dreaming, is because I was wide awake with terror all night, and I couldn't move in my bed, and they stayed there until daylight came into the room, and then they left. So at that young age, I knew the realm of the demonic was real. So when my great-grandmother, I'd go to her house. She's the devout Christian I mentioned,
Yeah.
or you did in the intro, and so she didn't talk about demons, of course. She's not going to want to strike terror in kids or anything, but I knew that they were real. So when she talked about angels and stuff, I was always in tune and wanting to know, how do you get rid of bad stuff? And I remember the word rebuke. When I heard that word for the first time, I used to think of it as like a magic spell word that, oh, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. You got to know that. And I remember my brother teaching me that. And when I got old enough to start reading the Bible, when I came across Second Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 3 through 12, and it talks about this deception, that stuck with me, and it terrified me, because the reality of the demonic realm was very real and personal to me. And I hear this thing about the Antichrist, is telling me that this person's coming in the future, and it doesn't matter what you believe in terms of people all over the world from all these different religions and walks of life are going to believe this guy. There's going to be something about him, some kind of deception he's going to bring with him that's just going to dupe so many people. It's going to be amazing how he's going to do this. So that, even when I was not really a firm believer until I was 21, that still was a part of my psyche, and it was bubbling in there even when I was in my disobedient years. So when I first became a believer after my experience, that's when I started reading the Bible, and immediately I'm connecting dots with, starting in Genesis chapter 6, I read about the Nephilim, and to me that was just obvious.
Those who descended from the sky,
deception. Excuse me?
I said the definition of Nephilim are those who descended from the sky, right?
Correct, the fallen ones.
Right.
When the sons of God married the daughters of men, and then they had children that were genetic freaks of nature. They were giants. And some people debate the definition of giant as being like some translations saying 6 feet, but even King Saul was 6 feet, and it doesn't say anything about him being a Nephilim. I refute that doggedly, that these were actual, no-kidding giants. They stood probably around Goliath, 9 feet tall. King Og, his bed was 13 feet. These were gigantic people, and there have even been reports of these people still on the earth today in Afghanistan. I personally talked with someone who said he shot one. He was a sniper in the Army at the time. So I think that they're still out there and they're still alive. And all of that started from that young experience, from when I saw that otherworldly, the dark side. But then later in life I saw the light side. So I've fortunately seen both sides of the spiritual spectrum. And those elements feed into part of who I am today.
Why do you think that these entities from the dark side attacked you or were with you the entire night? What do you think they were trying to accomplish? They might be like around these kind of things all the time, and they're always on the lookout for people that'll be able to see them or know them. Something about certain people will draw them. And you may be up that same alley, because it's probably no mistake that you're doing a show like this. You may have a similar background. And if certainly you've talked to people that do. But some people tend to attract this kind of stuff. And I'm one of them. I've had even been told to me that if you've never had anything odd happen to you in your life, just hang around with me for a little while. And sure enough, you're going to start becoming aware of some strange things that you maybe didn't notice before. Let me ask you, John, what is the strangest thing that has ever happened to you?
The strangest?
Yeah.
Well, it's hard to say.
Okay.
I've literally written books about all these different things that have happened to me. I've swapped a part of my spirit with someone on one occasion, and then psychically found this person again after being separated for 3 years, psychically. And that was just by pure randomness. But aside from that, probably the most verifiable event I wrote about in Aliens in the Bible, and that's when I was in the Army, and this glowing ball of light came out of the jungle, flashing.
Okay, so what do you mean a light came out of the jungle?
It was about midnight. This was during the Panamanian invasion. I was in the Army, and I was deployed to Panama during Operation Nimrod Dancer. I was an M60 gunner, and I was on guard duty at the time in the jungle. And I saw this glowing ball of light that would be flashing on and off. And when it wasn't flashing, it was completely transparent, completely invisible, and completely silent. It was about the size of a soccer ball, and it was bright as a camera flash. Extremely bright, glowing ball of pure energy. I knew about a lot of things back then. It wasn't ball lightning. Characteristics of ball lightning is a constant ball of light that shoots around until it hits something and dissipates, and it wasn't doing that. We didn't have drones back then. It was down inside the trees. It wasn't any kind of laser or anything like that. That requires line of sight. It wasn't swamp gas. There's nothing in any technology or any biology textbook that could describe what this was. But a Dungeons and Dragons book would say it was a will-o'-the-wisp. This glowing ball of white light came straight to our position.
Yeah.
I wasn't the only one who saw it. The guy that was with me, I told him I was going to communicate with it. He was freaking out. They used to make fun of me in the Army because I talked about ghosts and stuff, but he wasn't making fun of me anymore.
I can believe that.
And he didn't want me to try to talk to it, but I just ignored him. And I went out and I said, I mean you no harm. I'm here in peace. Never mind the M60 over there with the 750 rounds of ammo. Because I disarmed myself and I set the weapon aside. And this thing, whatever it was, it didn't speak any kind of known language, but while it was invisible, I felt it move toward me, and its presence was extremely powerful, like somebody rushing straight toward you.
Wow.
I felt it fly right over my head. I even had night vision goggles that I was using, and you can't see it with night vision. And I did a complete 180, and I told the other guy, I said, I don't know how I know this, but the next time it flashes, it's going to flash right there. And I pointed to this spot up in the trees. Right where I pointed, that's where it flashed, and it flashed when I said the word there. And I freaked out. I was like ecstatic. I mean, I told the guy that was with me, I said, did you see that? It knew where I was. It made me feel where it went, and it was waiting for me to point where it was before it flashed.
Man.
It totally communicated. It's sentient. It's alive, and it's observing us.
All right, John, hold on here, buddy.
Around our perimeter. And,
John, hold on. We've got to take our news break at the bottom of the hour. So, Exo Nation, John MILOR and I will return on the other side of this break to continue this very interesting conversation. I'm Rob McConnell. Don't go away. Exo Nation, John MILOR is our special guest this hour. Here's 3 websites: www.thestrongdelusion.net. He also has one, aliensinthebible.com. His Facebook page is facebook.com/John MILOR, and all his books are available on Amazon.com. All right, please continue this story. Before we went to the break, you were pointing to a spot in the trees, and when you said there, it appeared.
Yeah, it flashed. So it basically let me know that it was, in fact, sentient. It let me know where it was located. And so somehow it was able to telepathically relay to me its location. It was a very strange feeling, like chills and just this energy that I felt, that I knew where it was located. It did a circle around our perimeter, flashing as it went, and then it went down deeper into the jungle, and it visited 2 other guard posts, and the next day the people at those guard posts both told me that they also saw it. And then it just went back off into the jungle. And if you read about a mythical thing called Will-o'-the-Wisp, they behave in that similar manner. They try to evoke curiosity and get you to follow them. And they're not good because they try to get you to follow and fall into a pit or something if you follow them, according to the legend. But I suspect that whatever spawned that legend was probably what we saw.
You know what? Is it possible that what you encountered was the exact same thing that they encountered at Rendlesham Forest in the United Kingdom?
It's possible. If that's the one, well, there was one where they actually saw a UFO there, right?
Well, they never really saw what it was, but they did see a light. And we've spoken to Colonel Halt and the other members that were there, and they never said that they saw a UFO. They saw a light. So that's
it could have been.
Yeah.
This thing was incredibly bright, and it was pure energy. I kind of have this theory that there's this whole range of what I would call transdimensional entities. They may be a part of God's natural order of creation, but they're sort of in between, or they're able to shift in and out of this dimension. I don't know if they're native to this dimension or not, but I've talked to people that had lived in Thailand, and there's this other kind of creature that lives there. Talked to 2 different people that did not know each other, and they were from Thailand. And they talked about this one creature that will sometimes materialize in the jungles. And it's like, from the legs down, it's semi-transparent, so it looks like it's floating. And it has eyes on the side of its head, and it has the face kind of like a head and face kind of like a horse. But it's got these really long, gangly arms and huge claws, and it'll straight up kill people. And this thing attacked my friend's brother. Because they hate noise. So if you go out into the jungles in Thailand, you make a lot of noise, and one of these things is around, it may kill you. So I thought that my friend in high school, I thought that this was just a crazy story, but when I brought up the same story to another lady a couple of years later, when she said she was from Thailand, she's like, oh yeah, only you in America don't believe those things, but we know those are common. She had a name for it, but and I don't remember the name, but apparently people from Thailand see these things and they're common. And that's just one example. I have a theory also, and I'm not the only one with the theory, but it could be that Bigfoot might be another example of a creature that has, say, a transdimensional capability. That maybe that's why we can't see them all the time. That's why they can creep right up on us, and we see them 1 second, and they're gone the next. But it's huge. How the hell did they sneak around like that? Maybe it's because they're Nephilim. They're part gorilla, part human or something, and they're incredibly smart, and they're just really evasive. But there may be a whole range of creatures like that. My latest book that I've been working on, The Strong Delusion, I studied the Quran and the Hadiths and a lot of Islamic literature, and it turns out they have something called the jinn.
Yeah.
They match the description of the Nephilim, and in that book I actually have a comparative analysis of the two. I think they're the same thing. There's 2 categories of Nephilim. Nephilim can either be part angel, part human, but they can also be part angel, part animal. That's one of the reasons why people describe demons as having horns and being like part animal, because they literally were, at one point in time, physical beings that were alive.
Yes.
Like a Taurus or a centaur or something like that. part bull, part angel. So it's a humanoid angel, humanoid in appearance angel, mixed with an animal, and they come out all these bizarre variations. Pan, part goat, part human.
Yeah, Greek mythology. Yeah.
A lot of mythologies are based on it. I don't think it's any accident that these mythologies from many different cultures all over the world, as many as 600 of them, have references to these part humanoid, part animal creatures, and a lot of instances have these beings as having supernatural abilities, having a transdimensional structure or capability would fall in line with that. Their ability to pop in and out of this dimension would be kind of like us holding our breath and jumping into a swimming pool and swimming underwater. We could do it for brief periods of time. It's not our native environment, but we can do it. And they may be able to pop in and out of our world in a similar way.
Tell us about your theory on UFOs. Where do they come from? What is their purpose? Do they pose a threat to humanity?
Okay, so I have a chapter in The Strong Delusion where I talk about how the Christians, the traditional view is that aliens and UFOs, they either don't exist or they're all demonic.
Right.
So those are kind of the original views, but there is a lesser-known view that it's all divine or primarily divine. Barry Downing, he's a author. He's in his 80s now.
Yeah, we've had him on the show a number of times, yeah.
But I've spoken with him a number of times. He's a really great guy.
Yes, he is.
He does believe that there's bad ones also, but he focuses more on the good ones. I'm kind of like balancing all of it. I think there's good ones and bad ones. The Bible tells us there's fallen angels and there's good angels. It also says that there's things called the host of heaven, and that's not necessarily an angel because humans are considered hosts. The same word to describe vast numbers refers to humans also. So I think that you have good ones and you have bad ones. So I'm not going to call it all demonic. And I think the Bible has examples of good ones, like in Ezekiel chapter 1 and 2, or 1 and 10. But you have a lot of bad ones too, and there's a lot of examples of those. Nephilim, for example, are examples of bad ones. That's fallen angels coming here and almost destroying our world. That's why God brought the flood of Noah. So when it comes to UFOs and aliens, they have different agendas. It depends on what their alignment is. Depends on who they're following and what their objectives are.
But doesn't it also depend on what the beliefs of a person are as to whether or not the God connection is actually within ufology?
Yes, I believe, but people, if they don't have a solid foundation in their faith, they can easily be pulled astray or led astray. One example can be that one of these earlier books, what's the lady's name? The Betty something. I read this book about a lady, and she was calling it all divine and everything.
Right.
But the beings that actually visited her actually called themselves the Watchers. And if she was maybe a little bit more knowledgeable on her scriptures, she would have known from the book of Enoch that the Watchers were primarily bad. They were fallen angels. And they were straight up telling her that they were the Watchers. So if she knew her theology, she would have said, "Oh, okay, see you later."
But you know what? I can understand where she's getting mixed up, because there were a number of television shows put on that were about the Bible, and they actually called the angels the Watchers. And these were the angels, the archangels Michael, and other angels and archangels that were called the Watchers. So I can understand where she's getting the mix from.
Mm-hmm. And so this could be a particular species of angel, humanoid, and probably native to Earth originally, dating back to Lucifer's kingdom, talked about in Isaiah 14 and Ezekiel 28. angels used to live here on the earth before humans, and it was an entire kingdom that was here. And Michael might have been in there and part of that kingdom, Gabriel. So they are considered watchers as well, but the bulk of the watchers followed Satan, and they sinned, and they're the ones that spawned all of this Genesis 6, fallen angel stuff.
Interesting.
So you see a mixture. So obviously the angels, they may have been watchers in Ezekiel chapter 1 and 10.
All right, stand by, my friend. You and I have to take our final break. Exo Nation, my guest this hour is John MILOR. And when we come back, I'll tell you a number of websites that you can get more information on John, and where you can also buy his books. I'm Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone. We're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in Niagara, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away. Welcome back, everyone. John MILOR is our special guest. And here's a couple of websites. The first one is thestrongdelusion.net. Then aliensinthebible.com. Another one is aliensandtheantichrist.com. On Facebook, it's John MILOR. And his books are available on Amazon.com. He's a very busy man. First of all, John, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. Great talking to you after all this time. And I'd also like to take the opportunity of thanking you so much for your service.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
So we've talked about angels, the good, the bad, the ugly. What do you think? Where are the angels now? And where do you think heaven is?
There's some that are here on Earth right now among us.
Okay.
In fact, I think that they frequently will assume human identity, and sometimes they can even assume the identity. I think one of their frequent tricks is to be like doppelgangers. And they'll assume the identity of someone that you know.
Right.
It may even be in the same house as you. They could do something as cunning and quick as walking in the room, assuming the identity of your wife, say a comment to you about something, and then walk into the other room and disappear, and you would never know, because you're never going to ask your wife, hey, what did you say about this or that? People don't cross-reference what we say, but half the time when we do, we're saying, oh, I never said that, or I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I've heard that.
But how many times has that ever happened? And we're like wondering, I could swear I said that to you, or that this happened, or you were at this place at this time, or whatever, and it's not the case. I think part of that could be some visitors coming in and assuming an identity. So they are here. I think that they're here in multiple dimensions. I think they're also among the heavens, just like the Bible says in many different places. Heaven is a plural word. Second heaven is the most frequently used term. Oranios in Greek, Shamim in Hebrew, 657 times used in Scripture, and most of them are plural, meaning the heavens, referring to outer space. So that's why angels are synonymous with stars in another instance of many different Scriptures, because they live among them. So that's where they're at. And one thing I wanted to get in before the interview is done is I have an email address, jmilor, M-I-L-O-R, jmilor @yahoo.com. And for anybody that would like any of my books, just ask. You could email me, and all I ask in return is to go on Amazon and give me a review. I'll email you electronic copy of any of my books. And for any book, free of charge, just ask that you give me an interview. And that's a standing offer for anybody out there that's listening.
That's one heck of a great offer. I've got a question for you, my friend. Aliens are flesh and blood like us, apparently. But angels are invisible spirit beings like ghosts, right? aliens fly in spaceships and use technology, but angels are spirit that don't need technology, right? How come?
Angels are of another kind of flesh. So basically there's a difference between regular flesh like we have that's mortal, we die, but angels have a glorified flesh. Humans will also have the same glorified flesh when they're translated in the future, when following the resurrection. So a glorified translated flesh has the ability to assume a transdimensional structure and pop in and out of this dimension. So they're frequently confused as being non-physical, but the truth of the matter is they are every bit as physical as we are. They're just more. They have a glorified nature, and they're able to traverse dimensions with their bodies. What happens when a person dies, though, is they no longer have their body of flesh. So that person is truly spirit and does not have the physical nature anymore. But an angel does have a body. Fallen angels, typically, you don't really read about fallen angels possessing people. You read about devils possessing people. Devils are the ghosts of Nephilim. Their physical bodies died. So they are non-corporeal spirits that go around looking for people to possess. That's why they want to possess people, so they can have a body to manipulate and do things in the physical realm. So that's kind of a distinction, and I give a lot more definition to it, and I use scriptures in both Aliens and the Antichrist and the Strong Delusion.
Do you think that we're in the end times and that the second coming of Christ is going to happen?
I do believe that we're in the end times. There are over 300 prophecies about Jesus that had to come true before he returns, and every single one of them have happened. And the description of the world that we have today very much matches exactly what Jesus said. Wars, rumors of wars, signs in the heavens. And I think that this whole alien phenomenon is yet another one of those signs, being watching for the sun and the moon and the stars and signs in the heavens, that the heavens will be shaken, that we'll see a return to the days of Noah. And that's what we're seeing with this whole alien phenomenon, is a return to the days of Noah. And I think that that's why we're getting closer and closer, possibly to a day of full disclosure, when extraterrestrial life becomes a reality in the world. That would be yet another sign of a return to the days of Noah, and marking the closeness of the return of Jesus.
You know, concerning salvation, if it is true that there are ETs on other planets, then what makes Earth so special for God to visit Earth with his message of salvation? Why us?
So this is something that I came across in Aliens and the Antichrist. The people in the past used to think Earth was the center of all creation, and Copernicus was one of the first to speculate that everything didn't revolve around the Earth. And others later came and said, no, planets are going around the sun. So the Bible is centristic on the Earth, but not because of Earth's place in the universe. It was a misunderstanding. And I think Earth is central not because it's the center of the universe, but or because it's the only place in the universe with life on it. I think it's central because the rebellion that we have across the vastness of the cosmos in the heavens and on Earth started on Earth. Earth was the center of Satan's kingdom. If you read Isaiah 14 and Ezekiel 28, it talks about Satan actually being in the garden of God, and he had a throne. So you can't have a throne without a kingdom, and so he had a kingdom here on Earth when he was glorified. So read Isaiah 14 very carefully. Read Ezekiel 28 very carefully, and I discuss those. Those are very, very key scriptures, and they actually predate Adam and Eve. And they talk about angels here on the earth. And the rebellion that we see in the heavens, it actually started on earth, so God is putting an end to that rebellion on the earth. That's why the earth was chosen.
Do you think we'll ever get it right? Do you think that we'll at one time understand that we are just such a small part of something that is so big And do you think we'll finally understand that we can live together and that we can have peace and together we can solve all the problems and all the mysteries that are in front of us?
We will understand that when the kingdom is here. So the glimpses that we have of the kingdom coming here they give us glimpses of that.
Yeah.
The Lord's Prayer, thy kingdom come, thy will be done. It actually says, give us this day tomorrow's daily bread. If you look at the actual wording in the translation of the Greek and the Hebrew, tomorrow's daily bread is saying that we're getting blessings from the future. And those glimpses of the future are heaven on earth. And we will have a return to God's original creation, what he planned from the beginning. But it's not going to fully be here until his kingdom has returned to this earth, as it discusses in the end of the book of Revelation.
John, tell our listeners where they can get copies of your book, and give yourself a good plug for your websites. We've got about a minute left.
Okay, it's www.thestrongdelusion.net. That also goes to the same website as two other domains, so whichever are the easiest to remember, www.aliensinthebible.com and www.aliensandtheantichrist.com. So I have a bunch of links on those websites to go to all of my social media stuff. I'm out there. I got my own YouTube channel if you want to see some videos of me talking about some of the books. I have this 16-minute presentation of The Strong Delusion on there that has all these slides and tons of scriptures. You can pause it, you can read it. Is basically a synopsis of the book. And I also have an Amazon author page and Facebook, and then, of course, my email.
Right.
And I do personally correspond with people.
John, we've run out of time for tonight. Thank you so much for being on the show, and I look forward, whoopsie-daisies. Thanks, Craig. I look forward to the next time you and I meet back here in the X Zone. Until then, take care of yourself, my friend, and God bless you. We'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news as we continue from our broadcast center and studios in Niagara, Ontario, Canada. Once again, if you'd like more information about our guest this hour, John MILOR, aliensandtheantichrist.com, thestrongdelusion.net, aliensinthebible.com, on Facebook, facebook.com/John MILOR, and of course, all his books are available on Amazon.com. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news at 6.5 minutes past the top of the hour as we continue here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell. Don't go away.